right? Yeah. So, and that's an exaggeration, but if you look at women, this just desire for pure novelty, sexual variety is much less of a motive. But women who have affairs cite that they're unhappy with their primary relationship, emotionally unhappy, or sexually unhappy, and typically both. And this may seem like totally obvious that, well, of course, people, if they're unhappy in the relationship, are more likely to stray. But in fact, it's not true for men. So if you compare men who are happy with their marriage and men who are not happy with their marriage, there's no difference in their infidelity rates. And I think it goes down to that issue of, motive for seeking variety. So now, why do women do it? Because it's a risky endeavor. She risks her long-term mate or losing a long-term mate. It's risky in terms of reputational damage for both sexes. So it's a risky thing. Why do women do it? And there are two competing hypotheses, at least two, but there are two primary competing hypotheses in the evolutionary literature. One is called the dual mating strategy hypothesis, where women are seeking to get resources and investment from one guy and good genes from another guy. So in principle, that can work. And I initially, this wasn't a hypothesis original with me. This is Steve Gangestad, Randy Thornhill, and some others Marty Hazelton, a former student of mine, have advocated this dual mating strategy hypothesis. And originally I was endorsed it because the data seemed to support it. And we can get into which data seemed to support it. But over time, I became more and more dubious about this hypothesis and instead have advocated what I call the mate switching hypothesis. And so if you look at a whole host of information around why women have affairs, it's not compatible with the dual mating strategy hypothesis. So, and is compatible with the mate switching. That is, women who are looking to either divest themselves from an existing mateship or trade up in the mating market to a mate who's more compatible with them or higher in mate value, or simply see whether they're sufficiently desirable so that it eases the transition into the mating pool, or keeping a mate as a potential backup mate, what I call mate insurance. So you have car insurance if something bad happens to your car, house insurance. We also have mate insurance, keeping one woman said, men are like soup. You always want to have one on the back burner. So
interesting. Whether
that's the best analogy or not, I'm not sure, but it kind of captures something about why. So, well, what evidence am I talking about? Well, for one thing, women who have affairs, and this is about 70% of them.
70 again. Sorry, just I want to make sure people
of the women who have affairs.
Yeah,
of the women who have affairs. So let's say ballpark Kinsey was, let's say, roughly right. 26% of women who have affairs. Let's just assume that he's right, and we don't know exactly. But of the women who do have affairs, about 70% say they have fallen in love with their affair partner. They become deeply emotionally involved with their affair partner. And to me, if you're just trying to get good genes from a guy, that is the last thing you want to do, is fall in love with him or get emotionally involved. But it's very compatible if you want to switch mates.